where all of the people who are members of that organization have to interact with one another towards creative results.
That's an interesting model.
What I'd love to hear from the other panel members here is the relevance of that contrast for other organizations more generally. I've always thought that the absolutely greatest example of four people collaborating, I'm not going to say which famous European string quartet this is, but there is one which uses no music and has played together for 30 years, in which there is one woman as second violin who has been married at one time or another to each of the three other members of the group. How you get creative results in that kind of collaboration, Mike may know, but I don't.
You going to try that system?
I wouldn't try that system. But I'll tell you, it's an interesting thing. We have a thing in the film business called the auteur theory of filmmaking, which is that the director has a vision, and that his vision is omnipotent, and that he will, which is very similar to your orchestra idea where there's a conductor. He's the conductor. And I've always sort of fought against the auteur theory because I think it doesn't bring the best creativity to the table. I mean, you have writers, you have actors, you have directors, and the idea that only one person can have a vision on a set, you know, I think is wrong. I think that everybody has to have a vision, and what he has to do, or she has to do, the director, is to mold that vision and to keep it all moving in the right direction. And so I think the auteur theory is not good. I don't think it's healthy for filmmaking.
It sounds like you're a perfect boss. Tell me a mistake that you made.
Oh, I make them all the time.
Well, tell me one. I won't tell anybody.
Well, okay, I'll tell you one I made. I once blew up at a network in a meeting.
But they deserved it.
No, actually, I just lost it, and it was my fault, and I went out of the meeting knowing I had made a horrible error, and when I make an error like that, I'm not only affecting my career, but I'm affecting the careers of all the other people that are working with me on these projects. And I didn't work for that network again for about 9 years. Mm-hmm. And it's just, you know, and that was, again, allowing myself to vent in a circumstance.
You're bringing up a very important point, because you are a creative person running a creative organization, as is Ray, as is Bob. What is the difference between the creative management and creating yourself and the management of creativity? How do you differentiate that in the same human being? Because that's what you guys are.
Well, you become a little schizophrenic. You have to sort of, you know, compartmentalize, to use a popular term today. You know, you can't just be. You have to, there's some part of you that has to be a manager and has to say, okay, I'm now fronting for this project, I'm not the writer of it.
Yeah. Ray, how do you deal with that? Because you're an inventor and you run companies. Isn't that a tremendous conflict of interest?
Well, I really try to collaborate. My own creative process is to frame a problem at night, think about it, and then go to sleep, and in the morning there'll be some creative ideas to work with. But then really try to get everybody involved in the creative process. It's not a matter of breaking it down into a hierarchy. It's much more of a process where everybody can contribute, and we try to recognize people's contributions, and that is really their reward. And then the thrill is having a technology affect people's lives.
Mike, do you see a conflict here between a person who is creative and trying to manage the creativity of others?
Well, it could happen, but I think there is a lot of creativity in management itself, and I think if you can enjoy the orchestration of talent that you do as a creative manager, that can be very satisfying.
We need a final question. We want to go ahead 100 years, fast forward 100 years. What's the role of creativity in normal business? Mike?
Well, it's clear that in every sector, even in the most traditional manufacturing sectors, the changes are getting faster and faster, and unless companies find a way of using creativity in their work, they're not going to be around. So,
Bob?
Human beings are living longer, just as change is speeding up. If we're going to live to be 80 or 90, I think there are going to need to be lots of people who are involved in lifelong education, continuing education, and even career changes in midlife.
Right.
100 years from now, society will be profoundly different. In fact, people will be different. We will be more intelligent, more creative by merging with very powerful new intelligent technologies that we've created. And the whole point of society and business, if you can call it that, is going to be to create new knowledge. We will not have unmet material needs, even 50 years from now.
I think companies will be measured on ROI, which will mean return on innovation. I think that'll be a routine matter. I think there will be chief innovation officers who will be responsible for these innovation processes. I think people will look at the management of ideas as routinely as they look at the management of money or people today.
You'll still be writing novels 100 years from today?
Hope so. Hope so. I'm counting on it. I'll be in a crypt somewhere doing it. For me, it's flexibility. I think in 100 years, we're going to need to be much more flexible than we are now, because the society is going to be so innovative, the technology is going to be so innovative that we're going to see these new generations piling up, and we're going to have to be creative and flexible in order to utilize them correctly.
Our guests have done it in real life. They've shown how creativity, properly directed, can propel companies and catapult careers. To be successful, modern organizations require both creative managers, those who cook up novel ideas themselves, and managers of creativity, those who oversee the originality of others. Imaginative individuals have an almost paranoid need to change, surprise, even to shock. They are intense, gutsy, spirited, strange. It's personalities like these that push us closer to truth. I'm Robert Kuhn.